Hello, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Liam Fallon, and we're going to be talking about India and artificial intelligence. And we actually believe that India is going to be the next AI superpower. Interesting. Liam, where can people find you?
Goodspace.AI is my company's website. We're trying to build the future of AI here in India. Otherwise, LRK Fallon across socials. Twitter's where I'm most active, and I like getting into debates with people.
Excellent. So, Liam, you're a Brit.
Mm.
Yeah. What are you doing in India?
I get asked this question 300 times a year, and in one word, it's hustle. I've worked in New York, and it's true what they say. You feel the energy in New York. It's a
Yeah.
city that doesn't sleep.
Brilliant city. Yeah.
California, Palo Alto,
Yeah.
great atmosphere. Barcelona, people are partying all night long. But I think London used to have a hustle. I don't think it's got a hustle anymore. I think Delhi and Mumbai are where people are willing to try anything to see something work. And there's just too much of a computer says no attitude in London.
Mhm. So, what factors do you think make India uniquely positioned to be the next
Mhm.
AI superpower?
Well, Tim, what do you think? I mean, I've been here 2 years. I'm a little bit out of touch. I have conversations with my mum and my sister back in London. So, when you think of India, what's your context? What would you say is your average audience listener? I'm sure highly intelligent, but what is their perception of India at the moment?
Well, I think that I mean I came across an article recently about how many
Mhm.
millionaires were which cities had the most millionaires,
Right.
and what's surprising is that India is on that list.
Mm,
That they have cities with lots of with people with lots of money. And you're the thing about India is it's English speaking.
mm,
You're churning out people from universities, highly
mm,
qualified. I mean, if you look at Silicon Valley, um, after some of the Israeli universities,
mm,
the Indian universities tends to be the next highest, or where people are actually have degrees and they're working in Silicon Valley. So something is going on there. It's
mm.
not just horses. Sorry, cows and carts.
So, to give context to your audience, just before we came on air, I said in the background are three Indias. You can see a medieval age where there are literal bullocks pulling carts,
Mm.
and these are wooden carts with wooden wheels. They still make them. Then a layer behind that where people are using smartphones, just in this middle section where you see kind of blue awning.
Is
They
it
are
yeah,
using
blue? Yes.
yeah, there are kids in there using smartphones to learn maths on funny YouTube channels. The biggest YouTube channel in the world is T Series, which is an Indian channel. And then just behind that, which is this horizon, are skyscrapers. And you've got the top 10% of wealth in those skyscrapers. Um, so you're extremely informed. You read high quality articles, so you're aware of the millionaires. I will add to that that there's been a huge drain as well, right?
Mm.
So in Singapore right now, many of those millionaires are Indian millionaires. They've relocated, they've become residents. Many of the millionaires in New York are Indian millionaires. They are non-resident Indians, NRIs. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Tim, was these corridors, because the UK India corridor, the America India corridor. I mean, Kash Patel, head of CIA. There is so many links that India has all around the world. So when I hear news about AI, about weapons, the war in Ukraine. I am now starting to think about it from the Indian perspective, and it is incredible how present they are everywhere.
So talking about India's talent pool,
Mm,
what is Indian? So if India is
mm,
going to be the next AI superpower, it needs to have a talent pool. So what is
mm.
that talent pool, and how is it driving that AI revolution?
Okay, right. Many smarter people than me have been giving me insight to this. The equivalent of MIT, most people might know, is IIT. And you have several branches: IIT Kharagpur, IIT Roorkee. They have the most demanding tests, I think, anywhere in the world. Now, we can have a big debate about whether testing equates to creativity and innovation. I think that's a really interesting debate. But the first fact to get one's head around, and I still struggle, is because there are 1.4 billion people, the top 5% of really smart people is bigger than the population of Ireland, definitely, is bigger than the population of France. Now, if you think about Ireland, you have famous writers that everybody knows from Ireland, like James Joyce, shaped modern literature. So if the top 5% of intelligent people in India is, and that's the top 5%, is greater than the whole population of Ireland, and Ireland produced geniuses like James Joyce, then there alone is a statistical argument for why there is the IQ and the brain superpower to create the next wave of AI in India. So I would start there.
Okay,
Mm,
and also you also need infrastructure, don't you? So you need to have an educated workforce. You also need to have the venture capital infrastructure there as well. So tell us about that.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, if you drive 2 hours from where I am right now, you will reach these skyscrapers in the middle of countryside. And there might be a lot of local mafia corruption people joke about. I won't comment on that, but they are stunning skyscrapers. One in particular is the One Horizon Center. So you go in, and these venture capitalists called Z47 Partners have their own elevator in the mall in this skyscraper. So you go into the Z47 lift up to the fifth floor, fourth floor, beautiful balcony in a crescent overlooking cool restaurants, bars, and then hotels you can see up there. Some of the most well-funded VCs are taking decisions on which brands to back and which technology infrastructure technology stacks to invest in. So brands, I'll give you an example. This is 5 feet 11, brand new Indian brand. These are the shape of little Indian coins, pesha, that don't exist anymore, but the precursor to the sort of sub denomination of rupee. Very exciting products. Looking at AI, very, very exciting technology. So 2 weeks ago, I went to that office, and the head of the chief information officer is a very clever bloke called Navendu, and he's the CIO of Cruterim. And Cruterim is India's answer to OpenAI. What that means is, if OpenAI is trained on, let's say, he quoted around about 100,000 hours of Spanish, Cruterim is training their models on, at the moment, about 20,000 hours of Hindi, and it's mainly call center recordings that have been transcribed. So that's what we mean by infrastructure. And I think we should unpack that, like talk about the British Library. It has every published article ever written. That is what we mean when we talk about infrastructure. The difference between 50,000 hours that OpenAI has got access to and India having about 20,000 hours of call recordings for Hindi. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we talked about on the preparation call, which I found fascinating,
Yeah.
was one of the things you said about education,
Mm,
because you said in the States and in the UK, in Europe,
mm,
because of the education system, we will know that there are geniuses,
mhm.
and they are known to us.
Discoverability.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're absolutely right. So there is the head of a venture capital called Vibe Capital. Very cool guy. He's living in the States right now, but his argument is if you are a foreign investor looking at India, and this includes the NRIs, your dollar goes so much further because the population is so large and manpower is so cheap. So you invest in a bunch of smart guys from IIT, and they can make that dollar go a lot further. Then what you're saying is a second layer to that observation, which is because the infrastructure is so structured with UK testing and nationalized grades, and because there is such a high school attendance rate, um, talent is discovered, discoverability of talent. But exactly like you said, here, because there are millions of people missing education out in the villages, even close to Delhi, just go an hour and a half that way, there will be people who are not going to school. Because that is still happening, there might be geniuses that haven't been discovered yet. And it's statistically likely that there are, right? So, a let's go to the topic of this conversation. India, I'm going to argue that India will be the next AI superpower because they will produce the body of data needed to train the AI models, and they have the undiscovered IQ, and they have it in such a phenomenal population size. But what what, what do you think? When I said this to you, Tim, when I said I think India will be the next AI superpower, did you believe me straight away, or what did you think? Did you think it's implausible?
No, I'm biased. I would class myself as pretty well read,
Yep,
and I
I think
know
so.
that the government in India has a plan to actually be the number one country in the world. And it's only and if that's the
And
case,
right now, it's number four, right? Or is it number
yes,
number four? I think.
it's just overtaken Japan and I thought I've written it down somewhere. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, it's now number four. Yeah, so you've got US,
Wow.
China, Germany, and
Mm.
then India.
Wow.
And Germany's in problems. So
Mhm.
and because of the mass of people, I've been to India, and I know
Yeah.
that
When did you visit
well,
India?
actually it was like 20 years ago.
Okay.
But
Wow. A lot has changed. But
yeah,
what was it like? What was it like?
it's an amazing place because you get so many
Mm.
cultures and contexts. And I was there as a tourist, so I didn't really see commerce. Whereas I've
Mm.
traveled through the whole of Europe, Middle East, and Africa from a business perspective. I've had lunch with Arabs in Saudi Arabia, and talking about business and
Wow.
how
Yeah.
and how we can increase the efficiency of their warehouse and stuff like that. I've not done that in India. But
Wow.
it's but I've been in the business class lounge where people are speaking English,
Mm.
and English is
Mm.
a key to open the door for commerce around the world.
It
And the thing
is.
that was
You
interesting
can't get away. You can't get away from that.
but the thing that was interesting to me when we were talking was the fact that you said that the Indian equivalent of OpenAI is being trained on, and you mentioned the different languages
Mm.
in India, which meant
Mm.
that when it went out, when it's moved out to the people with the horses
Mm.
and carts,
Mm.
um, they don't have to learn English. They can use so they can basically be a genius using Urdu or whatever the local language that they're speaking. at that point,
exactly.
and then at that
And
so that point, you've got this ability of the English then isn't the barrier to entry to being a genius.
wow, exactly. Yeah. So obviously the reality is more complex, more nuanced, but that is the vision. That is what the government is aiming for. And that is what people like Nevendu from Cruterim are building and venture capitalists like Z47 are funding. And it did give me a fresh appreciation for the British Library, because the British Library has categorized and made digital every published article. And I can see now that India is in the process of doing that. Now, what's surprising is whereas that took the British Library decades, India has access to technology to leapfrog things. And a good example of that is in London, I rarely can use QR codes to pay for things. Whereas here, someone speaking very rural form of Bihari, which is a large state east of Delhi, can get out their internet access phone and scan a QR code and pay. It also means that they can send money right across India. That's called UPI. And other countries don't have anything as huge and as reliable as it. It's one of India's most incredible achievements. And whereas the US has just immense technology that is usually comes from the private sector in into public domain, India is very interesting. It's the other way around. You've got a government initiative like UPI and Aadhaar, which by the way, the UK totally rejected identity cards, and it might hold them back. India, bang, everyone can do payments. Bang, everyone's in a national database. So voting percentages, COVID uh, mortality, health tracking, it was all there because it was all in the database. So
So,
leapfrogging it in infrastructure, insane.
so what do you think is going to hold it back?
Yes. Again, I'll throw it back to you. Is there anything that you're suspicious of? Because I would like to challenge preconceptions. Now you're pretty informed, but what would you think would hold it back?
I think that people's preconceptions that it's, I think if you told most people that it's the fourth um, biggest GDP in the world, I think they would be
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think the Western view of it is as soon as we talk about India,
Mm,
generally what we do is that the news immediately cuts to B-roll of people in fields with horses and carts. And so therefore
yeah,
that's kind of the feeling that we get, even
yeah.
though you told me that you'd been in the new Tap Mahindra car
Right, right. Yeah.
and
So
said it was just awesome.
this is what's so difficult to explain unless it's anecdotal stories. My co-founder is Saksham Sandhu. When he was 21, he built drones for the Delhi police. So drones are getting more familiar in London. I've seen them flying above my head, and they are very much here in India. So people have to imagine India with drones, as well as the bullock and carts. And then my other co-founder decides that it's no longer worth going for the German executive car. The Germans are finding it very difficult to sell their Mercedes and BMWs in China and India. The Indians have to pay a huge tariff on importing foreign cars. So he's had an executive Japanese car, very nice. But because of that tariff, and this is exactly what the government intended, because of the tariff, he rode a Tata Curve, CURVV. This thing is outrageous. It looks like a curvier, sexier Cybertruck. The whole roof is glass with LEDs flowing through it, so it's sort of translucent and can do different aspects. It does a light show, singing and dancing. You can call it a gimmick, it is, but I was still impressed. And unbelievable that you drive it with one paddle, regenerative braking. That's what people want in big modern cities with traffic jams like Delhi and Bangalore. And it's got over 300 miles of range. So it's sort of, people have just leapfrogged a whole decade of combustion engine cars, and they're going straight into these electric cars. High-end stuff like the Tata Curve, very cool, crazy acceleration, and low-end stuff like my cold coffee with a nice barley-inspired fruit tropical bowl with granola gets delivered on an electric scooter. And even medicine, if you talk about the cold chain in India, which is really important, it gets delivered on a tiny little electric scooter, and there are about 7 electric EV companies that target the cold chain and last minute delivery. So India's got everything all at the same time. Anything you say about India will be true, even if you say things that are critical. Yes, you will find lower literacy rates. Yes, you will find cases. There's someone working with me in my office, and no one in his village, no female in his village has education above the 5th grade. And that's not so far away from Delhi. That is true. But um, the the top end of each industry, of each demographic, is radically changed. So yeah, I
We've
wanted to
had
ask you, Tim.
one comment, one question, Liam, which is
Oh
how's your
dear.
leg?
So I train with Shivam, and this gentleman asking the question, he is head of AI. This is absolutely true. So I love that he joined. Thanks, Shivam. He's head of a team at Accenture looking at AI risk. So I turned up to rugby training one day and I started speaking to him, and he told me that he's doing certificates in risk management and artificial intelligence safety assessment. Why? Because Accenture is training guys like Shivam to be experts, and the accounts they are managing are Bank of India, maybe Lloyd's of London, and all that learning about artificial intelligence and risk. Yes, there are some experts in London, but it's also being outsourced to India, right? So you've got experts right here, like Shivam, who are now authoritative on
Accenture have
AI.
250,000 people in India.
Wow!
It's
Wow!
my partner works for Accenture, and because I keep saying it's
Wow!
20,000, she says it's not 20,000, it's 250,000. Anyway, Liam, the 20 minutes is up. It goes very quickly.
It
Remind
does go
people
very quickly.
where they can get hold of you.
Tim, that honestly, I've enjoyed talking to you, and
It's
I
been
kind of
really
want to hear more
it's
of
been
your
fun, Liam.
opinions.
You are so passionate about India, and it comes across, and
Okay.
it's been a fabulous conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, there is an ongoing conversation, right? Everything's a debate. There is no fixed narrative. So I am having that conversation on Twitter. So please message me or comment heinous things at LRK Fallon. And I'm mainly focusing on all of these graphs that are like hockey sticks, number of smartphones in use, 5G adoption. Those are the things I retweet. And then I go to all of these VC events and they say, we are putting $20 million into AI agents that focus on cancer detection. I will be retweeting that. So people should come to me on Twitter. Instagram is a similar thing, but there will be more videos of pickleball on there, and that is definitely not everyone's cup of tea.
And you're on
And
Blue Sky as well, aren't you?
sorry, say that again.
You're on Blue Sky as well.
I'm on Blue Sky as well, and that was an experiment, and it's a very interesting one. Nobody talks to me on there, so if somebody could reach out to me, again, LRK Fallon with the Blue Sky appendage. If somebody could talk to me on there, I'd be so grateful.
Liam,
Are
thank you
you
so
on everything as well? You're on everything as well, aren't you,
I
Tim?
am, yes, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Liam. It's been a great